Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel for another Ninjago video. Today we're discussing Ninjago seasons that over time have aged poorly. And these are seasons that, when they came out, were more popular then than today. A few come to mind for me, the first of which we'll discuss is season 2. In 2012, this was the finale season of Ninjago, so there was a ton of hype around that. The whole show had been building up to this climactic final battle, and for us as fans, it was really exciting. Of course, there were 13 seasons after season 2, but in 2012 it was just this, season 1, and the pilots. So there weren't any story arcs that really rivaled this. I feel it's specifically the second half of season 2 that's aged worse, not so much the first half, the filler episodes. People have definitely come to appreciate those more. However, the final battle story feels very simple, and sometimes not satisfying. Like how easy it feels for the Overlord to be defeated, or Garmadon's automatic redemption, especially when there's a newer, better redemption for him. The story just doesn't really compare to newer Ninjago seasons, as well as the character work. Also, when season 2 was released, we were all 11 years younger. I was 7 then, and so obviously as you grow up, your standards change too. Just a few years ago, I was one of those fans whose favorite fight was the final battle, and whose favorite episode was the season 2 finale, but I don't believe that anymore. Season 2 has definitely aged worse for me, but not terribly. It is still a season I enjoy and find to be pretty good. Next up, right after season 2 is Rebooted. I never really enjoyed this season, but a lot of other fans did, and I feel many have soured on it since then. This season was the big return of Ninjago, and brought it back after cancellation. It was Ninjago's return into television. It was awesome to see our favorite ninja back after a year of hiatus, and also this season's finale and Zane's death are pretty good, and I'll always hold to that. The other 7 episodes, however, not that good. This season's plot is just kind of all over the place. There's aspects that get repeated, such as Borg getting captured or the invasion of the tower. Stuff that happens twice, and kind of a lot of it. I believe the season's trajectory was changed a few times during production, and it definitely shows. The characters are also kind of a disaster. This season basically wrecks Jay, Cole, and Nia just for a dramatic story. And to be fair, this storyline was always kind of disliked. Kind of a less common criticism, but I feel like this season just doesn't have charm. It's always felt like a very serious season compared to, for example, seasons 1, 2, 4. These seasons have a lot of humor, but it's easy to see why Rebooted was liked back then. Conceptually, it was very fresh and exciting. It was this futuristic season, which was very different from the more traditional ideas of the first 2 seasons. Alright, next up we take a big jump into the future to Ninjago Season 12. Prime Empire had the benefit of coming out right after Season 11, which 4 years ago was definitely the show's most disliked season. In those 4 years, Season 11 has definitely aged better, and Season 12 has unfortunately aged worse. 3 years ago, Prime Empire was received very well, because it was perceived as having more focus than Season 11. Season 11 had a lot of side episodes, which really distracted from the main story, and Season 12 kind of fixed that issue. It was also perceived as being more mature or serious, and so that was a big sigh of relief to fans. That would help it escape a lot of criticism, which would come up in recent years. That's not to say Prime Empire is hated, but it's not viewed as the savior of Ninjago, especially after the release of Master of the Mountain and Seabound. It doesn't really have much character work for the 6th Ninja, and it doesn't advance the Ice Emperor story at all. The Wildbrain era never really addressed the Ice Emperor story after Season 11, and so this season is viewed as the place where it probably should have. Jay is also the season's focus, but doesn't really have any meaningful scenes except in the final episode. A lot of the hype around Season 12 is worn off, since Season 11 is viewed more favorably. It's not bad at all, but I'd say it's one of Ninjago's more forgotten seasons. Season 11 and Season 15 are pretty controversial. Seasons 13 and 14 are really well liked. This season just kind of exists, but don't get me wrong, it's a very fun watch. And lastly is Crystallized Part 1. When these first 12 episodes dropped in May last year, people definitely enjoyed them. They weren't the firestorm that Part 2 was. There were definitely concerns as such, but it wasn't until Part 2 released that I feel this season aged worse. Knowing how the season ended in a perhaps disappointing way made these first 12 episodes less interesting or exciting. And maybe people came to recognize warning signs in Part 1. I still feel Part 1 is very good. It has a great build-up to the Crystal Council, but yeah, Part 2 is pretty rough. That's why it was surprising how it turned out, considering how good Crystallized Part 1 was, as well as Seabound and Master of the Mountain. But that's about all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, share with anyone you know, and feel free to disagree. These are just my interpretations, and if you feel these seasons haven't aged poorly, let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time.